I still remember the way she looked at me when the doctor left the room. Not with tears, not with panic, but with something colder. And I knew, in that moment, my marriage might not survive what my body was about to go through. If you've ever had one single sentence change the way someone sees you forever, stay with me. And tell me in the comments if you've ever felt that shift. That quiet, almost invisible change that hurts more than shouting ever could. The diagnosis wasn't dramatic. No collapsing. No alarms. Just a man in his late 40s sitting on crinkling paper in a beige exam room, staring at a framed poster about cholesterol. Early-stage Parkinsons, the neurologist said gently. I nodded like I understood. But what I really heard was, "You're about to become a burden." And when we walked to the car, my wife, Elaine, didn't take my hand. That's when I felt it, the first crack. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the silence says more than words? Elaine and I have been married 23 years. We raised 2 kids in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. Soccer practices, college tuition, mortgage payments, the American middle-class marathon. By 48, I thought I knew who I was. Regional sales manager, decent provider, reliable husband, the guy who fixed the garbage disposal and grilled on Sundays. But somewhere along the way, we'd grown polite. Not hostile, not divorced, just distant. Our son moved to Chicago last year. Our daughter barely calls from Arizona unless she needs something. The house got quieter. And in quiet houses, you start hearing your own thoughts. I had already been feeling it before the diagnosis, the tremor in my right hand, the stiffness, the exhaustion I blamed on getting older. Have you ever blamed something on aging because you didn't want to face what it might really be? I kept it to myself for months. That was my first mistake. When Elaine finally noticed the tremor at dinner one night, she didn't yell. She just stared. "You need to see someone," she said. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "I'm scared." Just practical. That's who she is. But that practicality suddenly felt like distance. And I couldn't shake the thought. Maybe she'd already been pulling away long before the doctor gave it a name. After the diagnosis, things shifted in ways I didn't expect. She started organizing everything. Insurance papers, medical folders, long-term care options. Long-term care. Do you know what it feels like to see your spouse researching facilities before you've even processed the word early? I told myself she was being responsible. But late at night, lying beside her, I felt like a project, not a partner. One evening, I dropped a glass in the kitchen. It shattered across the tile. I froze, because for the first time I was afraid of my own hands. Elaine rushed in, and there it was again, that look. Not anger, not love, calculation, like she was measuring how bad this might get. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what it did to me. I started pulling away first. If she saw me as fragile, I'd give her distance before she gave me pity. I stopped reaching for her in bed. Stopped talking about work stress. I even began updating our financial accounts quietly, making sure everything would be simple for her. Have you ever started preparing for your own exit while you were still alive? That's what midlife does sometimes. You realize you're not indestructible. Your parents are aging. Mine both passed within 3 years of each other. I helped lift my father into a hospital bed. I watched my mother forget my name. And suddenly, I wasn't just their son anymore. I was next in line. Fear does strange things to a man in his late 40s. It makes him quiet. It makes him ashamed of weakness. And it made me misread my wife. Because what I thought was emotional distance wasn't the full story. But I didn't know that yet. Everything changed on a Thursday night. I wasn't supposed to see it. Elaine had left her laptop open at the dining room table. She was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I swear. But there it was, an email draft. Subject line, resignation. My chest tightened. She had been with her company 15 years. I read the first line before I could stop myself. I need to step away to care for my husband. Care for my husband. I sat down hard in the chair. The email wasn't about escaping me. It was about rearranging her entire life around me. Scrolling further, I saw spreadsheets, retirement projections, part-time remote options, physical therapy research, support groups for spouses of Parkinson's patients. And then I saw something that broke me, a note she had typed to herself. Be strong for him. He's scared even if he won't say it. I had been so wrapped up in my own fear, in my own pride, that I mistook her strength for detachment. When she came out of the shower and saw me sitting there, tears running down my face, she panicked. What happened? Is it worse? I couldn't even get the words out at first. All I could say was, I thought you were pulling away. And for the first time since the diagnosis, she looked at me not with calculation, but with heartbreak. Pulling away? She whispered. I'm trying to figure out how to hold everything together. That's when everything shifted. Not because the disease disappeared, but because the lie I'd built in my head finally did. Have you ever realized the person you felt most alone with was actually fighting for you in silence? We talked for hours that night. Real talk, the kind we hadn't had in years. She admitted she was terrified, not of being burdened, but of losing me slowly. I looked at you differently, she said softly, because I was imagining life without you. Not without me as a responsibility, without me as her person. And I realized something painful. The diagnosis didn't change how she saw me. It changed how I saw myself. I saw weakness. She saw vulnerability. I saw decline. She saw time becoming more precious. And maybe that's what midlife really is, the moment you realize nothing is guaranteed anymore. Not your health, not your career, not even your identity. But you still get to choose how you show up. We decided she wouldn't quit her job. Not yet. Instead, we'd adjust together. Therapy, exercise, counseling. And for the first time in years, we started walking every evening. Slowly, hand in hand. Yes, sometimes my hand trembles, but she squeezes it tighter. The other day, she looked at me again. But this time, the look wasn't cold. It was steady, intentional, full of something I hadn't seen clearly before. Commitment. Redemption doesn't always come from curing the illness. Sometimes it comes from curing the silence. If you're in your 40s or 50s and quietly carrying something, fear, regret, distance in your marriage, can I ask you something? Have you told the truth about what you're really feeling? Or are you building stories in your head like I did? Because I almost lost emotional connection over an assumption. And at this age, we don't have time to waste on pride. My diagnosis didn't just reveal a disease. It revealed the fragile places in my marriage that needed honesty. And strangely, it brought us closer than we've been in years. If this story touched something you've lived through, illness, midlife fear, emotional distance, share your thoughts below. I read every comment because none of us should feel alone in this season of life. And if you believe it's never too late to rebuild connection, even after a diagnosis, consider subscribing for more stories like this. Because sometimes the scariest chapters are the ones that save us.